been with me for some time, and it's nice to know that they still by my side. Friends are like stars, cause no matter how far, when it's dark outside, they will be your light. We'd play Halo, and we'd lay low in our basement until the sun began to rise. We would go to school, but not learn too much, cause it's hard to read when you've got tired eyes. Months go by, the time it flies, past the days that we drank Kool-Aid in the summertime. Years go by, the time it flies, past the days that we drank Kool-Aid in the summertime.
Why? Hello there. How's it going? Good to see you all here as we're going to be entering into this today. I am RichRad for Boise State, able to fill in for some amazing matches of Overwatch today as we are going to be here for the CECC West Regionals. As we've got a great match already underway, we'll be entering into the second map for Overwatch specifically. It's an absolute pleasure to be starting this year off with some collegiate in Boise State. And again, we've got our collegiate Overwatch starting off the year right, as we're going to be having Boise State face off against Oregon State specifically. And again, this is a best of 5 where we get to enter into that second map. Control already underway as they just were basically rearing and ready to go between these two. So we let them get this underway, and actually we might be able to hop into game now to be able to see part of that map of Control. It's already going to be one side already, a round completed as we're entering into Sanctuary for this second one to see if there's a potential opportunity to come even with a 1-to-1 where Boise State has already been able to take this first round. So looking at the composition, seeing what they're going to bring to the table, we already have the Malgas coming out onto this, which again, we've been seeing a lot of this high-level competitive play, also in the just overall competition of this Malga, as really understanding how Matt Merck on this Tracer is going to look for this flanking angle. We've seen these individuals from Boise State be so pivotal in being able to collapse and have this two-prong attack to compete against both of them. Nice sleep in the back, though. Easy capitalization on the back line, and unfortunately, it's a lot more challenging here for Boise State to be able to push through this since there was such a quick response onto Matt Merck, so they'll have to wait for Matt to get back into this, as you do still have Clear, a very prolific tank that we've seen time and time again be able to play so well on the Ramatra, on the Sigma. Now going to look to pick up this Malga and see if it's able to counteract what we have from Requiem on the opposing side from Oregon. Great job, though, by Bagel getting that elimination, something we see typically from this this Lucio play. A stellar Lucio play, to say the least, as Matt Merck now, despite being taken down early with a great recognition of the flanking back line from Oregon, they're able to actually outmaneuver them in the late fight. They just drew it out so extensively, only really giving up 19% here for Oregon State. Little bit too much bitten off there from Matt Merck, trying to take down Tempo, who was separated from the team, but now going to cause some problems re-entering back onto this as Matt Merck gets into this with the Tracer, closing in on that pulse bomb. Plato with that great ultimate, the artillery shells raining from on high, but still has to be cautious. Great pickup to come in. Actually falls off the edge of the map. Won't be too emphasized on that outside of this, as the rest of the play goes in favor of Boise State, completely eliminating them. The Kitsune Rush is the most significant factor here that allows them to turn that on its head, despite Plato not getting as much value when it comes to their artillery shells, but also having the loss of their life off the edge with that environmental. But now, sneaky play. Matt Merck and Clear partner alongside close with Chosen to see how Oregon State is going to play out the gate. Peppering damage in the back. Head-to-head with the Malga up front. So much sustain comes through by Requiem. They've got now a tempo shift, specifically with that Kitsune Rush. No pun intended for their name, as they are overwhelming this back line potentially. But Matt Merck gets the recall. They activate the cage from Requiem to try and lock them into place, and Bagel goes down. Cannot get the sound barrier out in time to gain that fortification. Sad face, as you can see in the chat right there. Bagel not ready for it, getting buttered right now as a swap happens with Oregon now on that point. Cage counteracting. Clear, not done yet. Wanting to round the inner side and actually beautifully using the architecture, not only with the drum, but the pillar as well, to cycle around, giving them even more, not only coverage, but advantage to find a back angle, swapping this back over, wanting to close this out of the best of 5, where it's now only a few percentage marks left. Manza now needs to get back, regroup with Oregon so they can come back into this as a full 5, and it's going to be challenging. The movement speed and the displacement available can be extremely helpful, but this forward position by Clear gives them the advantage. Ability cooldowns online and waiting for this engagement. Very low though, has to abandon ship, and in attempting to flee, the damage is overwhelming. Oregon able to catch Clear out. Chosen and Matt Merck have to play super cautious as their health values continue to dwindle. Plato gets one though onto Squishy, and a second with the artillery. Despite them losing this, Bagel says green means go, and the barrier is online. They will completely turn this on his head despite Clear being nowhere in sight and get a team kill, a 4 versus 5 to make this a first map win on Control. Wild to see how that turns in the end. Even though there was some great opportunity and presence of mind from Oregon State, even with that 2 position, as you saw on the upper side towards the pagoda, Clear and Matt Merck playing close together, an off angle, where then Plato, Large Bagel, and Chosen were kind of maneuvering back towards the drum. But in this case, Oregon State really couldn't manage both fronts, where there was just that influx of damage. And now that they've been able to take this, we can look to see what that next map is going to have in store for us. And as we've seen so far in this best of 5, it will be entering in onto a hybrid map selection, as we do follow that same format, what we've seen from Calling All Heroes. And having the Malga even be played on this is something we haven't really seen as much. Seen more of the Orisa, more of the Malga, more of the Junker Queen, but Malga still being a very controlled pick, especially if you're going to be going against it. This Malga v Malga opportunity really just allows you to have this constant sustainability of damage, but also really having that crowd control and the ability to lock those individuals down with that cage. And you can see it on multiple occasions where, specifically from Oregon, locking down Bagel, stuck in the cage, has the sound barrier, can't do nothing with it. So given over the spot. And this is something that Boise State's always really been good at, is especially when it comes to reading the actual fight and the tempo of it, when to draw back, give ground, and allow it to be taken for a more formidable re-entry to be able to counteract Oregon. And that's where I think the Oregon's going to have to maybe refine a little bit more, get themselves into a position to also do the same thing. They're losing and catching themselves out in the back, where you've got Matt Merck looking for these flanking angles. The Tracer is just coming in so quickly and efficiently, as they've transitioned to this DPS role. Matt Merck, known for a tank role that we've seen years in the last competition, being able to see this squad specifically in the Collegiate Championship Series circuit, just doing so much, and then really finding not only those characteristics from a Wrecking Ball player, that mobility, but then going to be doing so now on this Tracer and really punishing the opponent, as we're now going to look and enter into this next map, hopefully shortly. But as a big picture, I'm still excited to see how Oregon's going to play this. We didn't get to see the first round of those two that we saw, so not sure if there was maybe some compositional difference or if there's maybe an adjustment in the way that they're playing tactically. And as we maneuver away from the control map, that's where we're really going to start seeing if there's going to be this adjustment in composition. And it looks like it's going to be. We do have this Orisa that's going to come out from Oregon. Really excited to do so. But Boise State sticking on something they're really comfortable with, at least from me just seeing it for that first round, technically second, because we got in the second one. Clear going to be on the Malga and still using this very almost heavy mobile type Malga play. Bagel giving that swiftness not only to Matt Merck or Clear, Plato even as well on this defensive position. And Oregon, again, hovering the Orisa. Wouldn't be surprised if they want to utilize something like that. The nice thing about the Orisa is with the Spear Spin, it mitigates a lot of that front-loaded damage. That's not only going to come from Clear, but alongside with Plato and Matt Merck if they funnel in those shurikens. So there can be a lot of mitigation, and Fortify being a very formidable, sustainable ability that can withstand a lot of that upfront pressure, hopefully finding an advantage elsewhere with Oregon, as they have a Hanzo and a Bastion to utilize alongside one another. But still, nice reserve play. Clear, playing the corner, allowing them to maneuver over. As you can see in the back corner there, Bagel getting a little overzealous, finding themselves a potential boop off the edge, but gets clipped and taken down. Clear themselves being left vulnerable, so this gives a window of opportunity now for Oregon State to press in and really compete around this payload. Chosen doing a great job for a majority of that engagement that continued to chase down Plato, but this is where giving ground is necessary. And again, something I highlighted about Boise State, reading the play, understanding where they have to look for to reconvene, really, to actually counteract against this, and the courtyard is where they can start doing so. Hopefully looking to hold in this position. Chosen gets aggressive up top, attempts to try and fall away from Manzanam, and they, with that Hanzo play, continue to look for these long-range sightlines, not leaving themselves exposed. But Matt Merck takes a wild changeup and goes onto the Pharah. The dedicated hit scan and focus can really come from not only that Bastion, but also having it from the Hanzo. This retaliation comes in tenfold with a team kill from Boise State, and that adjustment onto the Pharah and the way that Boise re-engages this is so much more efficient than Oregon, as they've got 2 minutes and 30 seconds now to work with, and the payload is not in a favorable place. They have to be aware of Clear on this high ground, still getting some peppered damage in now onto the Hanzo, dropping down, instantly funneling. Goes for a reposition, gets out with their life as the cage comes in, hugging the corner. Again, utilizing this architecture to really deny damage being pumped into Clear so everyone else can play on the offensive and not have to use their abilities or even just try and funnel damage as a defensive manner to keep Clear alive. 2 minutes now. Time continues to dwindle. Cheeky position. Clear sticking behind the boxes. They know going in aggressively and playing ham and gets the great elimination on that forward momentum. The Kitsune Rush, Boise State looking to put salt in the wound right now. It's not only trying to really break down your opponent, but it's also trying to get into the mental. You want to set the tone here as you continue on when they take the swap of sides. This very forward play, not only just for the psychological, but also understanding your time bank. You know that if you get these advantages, you're continuing to keep them at their spawn. But then, if let's say the victory happens, just like it is now, where they're taking this fight, it's an opportunity to get a full stack of 5, regroup, they get towards the payload, and then continue to move it so there is another attempt on this cart before it reaches the checkpoint. There's so much strategy that comes through when they're playing like this, and Boise State has always really had this large, not only macro understanding of the way that they want to play Overwatch, but also the micro, with Oregon now getting this opportunity. Big things to look out for, utilizing the Kitsune Rush from Tempo, and then also having this artillery hit pay dirt. But unfortunately, Plato gets one already onto Manza, and now with that 5 versus 4, Tempo has to commit this in 37, and a rocket barrage from underneath comes in for 3, tucked within that corridor. Even Clear knows it. Sitting back, hands away from the keyboard. I don't need to be here. Matt's got me. Don't worry, friend. Now, final fight moment. An adjustment comes in. I'm a boost with that diva play. Desperately having not only high mobility, but looking to counteract and mitigate Matt Merck, but this might be a little too late. They're coming in so scattered, and this off angle from Clear, it's basically a three-prong attack with how aggressive Plato's playing. Gets two into the back line, Clear on the bridgeway, and there's the other two on the payload to counteract it. The DMEC comes in, the cage is just for an insurance policy at this point, as they deny the initial point. Oregon now going back to the drawing board and hoping that they can have an even more stellar defensive hold against Boise State. Well, we've seen some crazy tech, as you can see right here. It's not really crazy tech, but it's a nice little cheeky position to be in, as Clear finds it. And again, goes in so much aggression. And the great part of this, too, is the timing and communication that we don't actually get to hear behind the scenes. This is exactly where Clear is saying, I'm going in, start to funnel the damage. Everybody pokes out. They manage to get that initial front-loaded burst onto Squishy, and then they completely eradicate them. Pressure as well. They find them just so vulnerable, and it just causes dismay in the biggest factor, where they are not ready for this type of Clear aggression, because if anything, they're most likely thinking, Clear's behind the box, he'll just pepper some stuff in, could be potentially vulnerable. Goes headfirst into the spawn position and completely catches them off guard and really puts them on the back foot consistently again. But with this swap of sides, Boise State now wouldn't be surprised if they keep the same composition and look for a very rush-heavy engagement. They are going to want to get that initial takedown so fast onto Oregon because they know they only have to reach that first initial checkpoint. Oregon on the defense, though, you can see the Orisa, the Bastion as well, taking up onto that high ground, balcony specifically. The biggest thing I would love to see here is if they can find a couple of really key javelins, looking for either a pin onto the payload or getting a spear spin to knock them off. If you do have to play that aggressively, it then keeps that not only tempo in control of their ultimate economy, but also allows them to potentially stagger the team of Boise State, which is a challenge in and of itself because of their coordination. Look at how much ground they're giving, but with a nice early elimination onto Plato, makes it a little more challenging, but this payload still keeping momentum. I'm a boost now up front. Spear spin takes front loaded of that damage, and you can see Clear just waiting for them to drop that spear. Can't quite mitigate it. Beautiful javelin to cause those extra couple of seconds to get the not only topped up healing, but looks for the fortify. Unfortunately, that aggressive spear spin onto the support line didn't manage to get the elimination fast enough, so that gives Clear the opportunity to punish and chase down I'm a boost. And with Plato still playing this elevated position, Manzanam can't get to them fast enough, and this Fara continues to rain damage from Plato on high. Now, one last opportunity, and you can see Clear knowing we have to hold the line here. Bridgeway is the key factor for them to deny this re-entry from Oregon, and especially when you're in an open space like this, there's no actual cover and only have to rely on the spear spin and the javelin. Immortality field committed into this. They no longer have it. Pressure is down. A trade comes in. Plato's brought out of the sky, but attack visor from Matt Merck might just put the nail in the coffin here to guarantee that this is another swift take. Under 1 meter, a hope and a prayer, but I'm a boost, but that Terra Surge doesn't even touch a tectonic plate. As now, Boise State puts themselves on a match point position. Again, best of 5, so first of 3. Clear, flexing the Mauga arms, and a glint in the teeth, and potentially the eye. As they will eliminate this second map, and now look for the third. Managing to push them through in this bracket. Again, a lot of competition in this West Regionals. And I'm really excited about it. I've been missing the Boise State competitive play. It's been some time, and I get the whole front-loaded action of it right now. And still, the one thing to focus on for Oregon is I think they just need to be a little bit more proactive in the way that they play to try and actually match the aggression. Because even when we saw specifically in this previous map for Escort, they played the high ground, they looked to funnel damage in, they gave ground to find a better, more optimal position. But the problem was is that once they were able to do that, Boise State playing cleverly underneath that archway, moving through the pathway, getting a flanking angle, and really just able to overwhelm the Orisa. That's the one negative part, is that if you can catch the Orisa between the Spearspin, the Javelin, and the Fortify, you're kind of a sitting duck, and you solely have to rely on the supports. So if there's enough punishment elsewhere to cause the supports, just even for the brief moment, to take attention away from that Orisa and have to funnel that healing elsewhere, you then now are in a very, very crippled position. And you saw with that chase, it was a do or die movement. I'm a Boost was like, I got to spear spin him. I got to get rid of him. I'm going to take the chance. And it's a gamble. And that's never something you want to try and play against a team as formidable as Boise State that has not only extremely stellar players, but also strategy behind the way that they play because of the long run relationship that they have. I mean, these players I've been able to see consistently play with one another, and they just have this real almost camaraderie and understanding of one another that you can't just teach. It's time and loyalty to one another when you're playing in a competitive scene like this, and Overwatch the way that they have. I mean, their growth as a whole as players has been amazing to watch, but under the umbrella of Boise State and what they've been able to do with their accolades historically, it's something that really does prove. And for Oregon, they know that they're going against a competitive team like this. They've seen their history in their competition for collegiate championship and a number of other tournaments as well. I mean, with CECC, they're looking to try and put themselves even further through this bracket, which we've got a lot more rounds of this bracket to go, as we're waiting to see what this next map is going to be for selection. If I'm not mistaken, I think it is going to be Flashpoint if we're following that same standard, which again, between either New Junk City and Saravasa, it really could go either way. The way that I think that Oregon is playing, it might be more advantageous for them to play on Saravasa because just of how some of the architecture is. There's a little bit more of that elevated high ground, low ground position. Not to say that the New Junk City doesn't have that, but I think that a lot of those can be more advantageous for them, especially with the compositions that they want to bring. If they want to continue with this Orisa, or maybe even want to look for the head-to-head with the Malga, that's another factor as well that could be able to match up against it. And I think the Malga, realistically, for only the small margin that we saw it on the control map, it might actually work a little bit better for them. They were still, unfortunately, finding themselves at the short end of the stick when it came to some of the encounters that were occurring. But it felt like they were able to match up more closely. They were able to stick in the fight longer and be able to buy time to take those fights and even actually gain control of the point. Whereas in this case, it's just so much funnel damage and there's not really a way to counteract against it. We could see right here specifically moments like these where Clear is just taking space, proper positioning, and just being able to mow down anybody that's within that crosshair. And it's just so devastating. But once Requiem back into the lineup on this Malga, able to get some assistance, even with the Reaper play, again, more so specifically talking to the control point that we're getting to see, it's vastly different than when we get to see something like this. Having I'm a Boost on this Orisa where they can't really throttle as much, and if they do, they're utilizing their abilities so early to actually get into the engagement that once the engagement persists, they have nothing left, and they're solely relying on the supports. And that's devastating to have to work through. As we do now enter in onto our next one, which actually we're going to have a little bit of an adjustment here. It is going to be the map of Push. And we get to change it up a little bit, going to Canada itself, as we're going to be within the thick of things. Snow, specifically, at least where I'm at, it finally melted, so I'm happy about that, because the cold is never fun. Though here, I think it might be a little cozy, especially if you have Flan and other things that might be piquing your interest. As we enter in now onto the map, doors are open, the teams are ready, and we'll see if Boise State is able to close this out with a swift 3-0, or Oregon State is going to be able to battle back and bring this to a map 4. Looking at that composition, out the gate, I like the fact that I'm a Boost is not going to stick to what we've seen already with the Orisa, which we know could counteract against maybe a Pharah if Matt Merck is going to play that. But in this case, he's going to swap back onto the 76. He wants to have this mobility, also a lot of pressure. Clear actually gets a great double kill in this. And this off angle that Oregon was playing didn't really pay dividends. And the fact that you have a Junker Queen on this, again, continuing to stick to the methodology of aggression. This is just absolute applied pressure. You are constantly feeling the just driven force of Boise State push the boundaries. And now you can see Imaboost again attempting to try and find an answer to this. The Sigma now is another with Squishy swapping onto the Moira. Even Busy is going to go onto this Echo to try and bring that high ground elevated play with a duplicate to utilize in those longer engagements, especially when you can maybe duplicate the Junker Queen to counteract it. Great follow through on that accretion though. Clear still pumping in quite a bit of damage, already reaching this 70+% marker for the Blade. And again, Boise State says, you know what, we got 45.8, we're gonna back off, get ground, go back to neutral. And this is similar to what we see when it comes to Coliseo, but in this case, if there's a quick dash reset like that from Clear onto Tempo, who's getting chipped away in the backside, they're gonna exploit those weaknesses. And look at this multi-prong attack again. A large bagel all alone in the stairway, having a field day with Clear just throwing out shurikens and deflecting the damage to absolutely crush the Echo play. And now, back at the neutral fight, they gain the advantage, and they're going to go right back into it, getting every small margin that they can. The biggest opportunity would be reaching this checkpoint, managing to capture it, gain the butt scratch, remove that from the equation, and then also gain the closer spawn position as well. And since they get this, that's putting themselves in a very dominant position, even though it's only 2.5 minutes into this. Realistically, this backline now, big reset's gonna come out if he gets another, as the Kitsune Rush is mirrored from both sides. Clear doesn't even have to use the Dragon Blade. Holds onto this, sheathes it for this entire fight. It's only the Kitsune and the Sound Barrier, so both support ultimates were used in this to really counteract, what, 3 ultimates that came out from Oregon? And a large bagel just also showing and flexing how on the leaderboard they're like, yo, I may be a support, but I'm gonna drop some beats and deal some damage. And that's what we see here front and center. With Clear now playing that forward position. So confident, has no need for fear right now, easy escape value, and if they do find a weak point into this, they can utilize the Blade and go right into it. Nice grab though from the Flux, gets quite a few. Chosen is down, Clear is abandoning to go back for the health pack. Both supports have been eliminated, and this is absolutely what you needed to see from Oregon. Managing to take down the supports is key. Matmer trying to pull this one back from the depths. Doesn't matter how many gates you're down below, Matmerk's going to make some plays and actually is able to counteract this, where this bot is still being contested, and they are now swarmed on Oregon, that they will have to go back as a full group. And Matmerk's on fire. Literally ignited at this point. Chilling in the back. Just rocking the shock skin and laying it down. As we have 6 minutes for Oregon State to try and find a resolution to this. They opt to go onto this May, so there is going to be potentially that slow opportunity if they do move as an entire unit to isolate and just really deny escape. But when you're having a head-to-head like this, a pulse bomb goes on to Matt, gets it, and actually gets out with a sliver of health. Mesmerized by the fact that that Tracer escaped that and gets 2-piece onto it, saving grace for Oregon State as they are able to now come back into this. Chosen, though, being able to at least get one is really challenging. You need to come back into this as a full 5. You're going to have to wait. There's this divide and conquer, this competition where Chosen has the Kitsune Rush, so what you could potentially see again here is a large bagel and Chosen pincering with these support ultimates. A large bagel's got to get out, though. You can see him in the back. Health value getting a little low, but topped up nicely with that amp and beat. As the Kitsune Rush goes for the flank, dives in, wall is active, Tempo trying to counteract with one of their own. The Blizzard thrown into the mix. Can they lock down multiple players? But they're on the outskirts. The Sound Barrier also going to weather that Blizzard that will chill you to the core, but no one's within it. That snow globe is a very, very sad snow globe, as this will be once again Boise State able to take this match and continue to press forward. Only a few meters away, realistically, when we have the comparison to only 5, just shy of those meters that Oregon was able to get out the initial gate for that neutral fight. And they've got the Rampage and the Tac Visor. You can just see the reposition with the Carnage. What a Suzu, though, to come in from Tempo to nullify that rampage. That would have been devastating onto I'm a Boost and Fizz. But now they're back into it. And as I say that, 2 go down. Tack and Blade gaining both. A triple might come in, but a reposition swiftly out of there from Tempo. And it's just falling to pieces. Boise State cleaning up those that are looking to push back the bot. A sneaky and cheeky play to bring it back and buy some time for a respawn advantage. But this is still looking hellish for Oregon State, as Boise just really, again, despite it being really scrappy and spunky, they're still taking the better trades, and they're able to eliminate these independent players that are off in a distance, or when they're in the fray, they're getting a lot of this clustered damage and really knowing how to weave that damage through to focus down those specific call targets. And that's what makes me think these comms are so hyper-focused. Boise knowing exactly who they need to bring down at the right time, despite them looking to harass onto this payload into the back. Now, Charge potentially going to come out, already having to use the roar defensively, as you've got, oh, can they find the health pack? Gets the pickup onto pressure and sends that Tracer back to spawn. A second gonna come. This is just a Junker Queen type of fight right now. The Blade comes in, looking to pull him into the clutches of the Carnage, is blood crazed for the moment. And we'll be able to push the remaining few meters of this, eliminating almost everybody. It's just the Tracer back in very late. With now only 3 minutes remaining, Oregon is looking at Mount Everest right now. They've dug their cleats in, but at this point, the harsh conditions might just be too great. Carnage up front, getting a nice slash onto it, where I'm a Boost attempts to turn this around with the Sigma Flux up top. Pulse bomb thrown in, but Clear, who we've seen holster this blade for the longest of times, gets a 2-piece. Both supports. I'm a Boost is down with Chosen's assistance. Everything falls in line. The team kill bell is rung. And that will be Boise State able to take all 3 maps in this best of 5 as they clean up the remaining few. A Coalescence is a hope and a prayer at this point. And Boise State just says, funnel out, my friends. We're looking for some target practice. Matt Merck's got his markers up and his vision clean, as this will be counteracted with 2 minutes to go. Like I said, got less than a meter. Let's just have that final push here as Boise State manages to overwhelm and dominate. But the staggers are pretty nice. They're drawing the clock out. They just can't take down this Junker Queen, who is constantly sustained by healing, not only from a large bagel, but Chosen as well. And as this continues to dissipate, the time shall finally dwindle, the bot shall push, and that will be the 3rd map win and moving on in through this bracket of the CECC West Regionals. Honestly, I'm pretty impressed. Like I said, been a while since I've seen this. GG's all around. Clear coming in. I almost feel like he's trying to be a little bit on brand because mine is like orange and black, and this is like a yellowish orange and black, so I'll say that he's doing it for me. As the cleanup comes in, Blade is active, and you can see just how lovely this final moment is, as they have been able to claim this win. But again, this isn't the only thing that we have for you today. No. We've got 3 maps quickly underway, but there's going to be another best of 5, a bracket that is waiting to see who moves on in this competition. And again, there are so many teams involved, from what we have a plethora to really work with. I've seen ASU, UCLA, a variety of others, with UCSD as another that is a part of this. So some really big names that we've been able to see in just the collegiate sphere for Overwatch. So there's many more competition, or many more competitive teams ahead of us, but we're going to be heading to a short break before we enter into that next game, since we will allow them a moment to complete theirs to see who we're going to be facing off against next. So don't go anywhere.
Once there was a traveler whose feet never left the ground. With only his mind as his map and his senses his compass, he raced into the great unknown. Armed only with the speed of legend. His trails he blazed, his rivals he played. Every sprint a blur. Every turn trusting his allies. In silence he raged and waged with quickening, sickening speed. His name a chant filling arenas. Because some heroes leave footprints, others an afterburn. Without conflict, there is no resolution. Without verses, there is no victory.
Here are a couple lessons I've learned over the years. Friendships come in all shapes and sizes. And always buckle up. Seatbelts save lives. That's a rule we can all live by.
It's the end of a good day's work in Idaho. Time to punch out. Time to check in and catch up. Time to remind ourselves that what we work for isn't a paycheck. It's to make the good things we have even better. So here's to your good day's work. Idaho Central Credit Union. We believe money is a thing. It's not everything.
Visit NationalGuard.com to begin your Guard adventure.
The drum, but the pillar as well to cycle around, giving them even more not only coverage but advantage to find a back angle, swapping this back over, wanting to close this out of the best, finding an advantage elsewhere with Oregon as they have a Hanzo and a Bastion to utilize alongside one another. But still, nice reserve play. Clear, playing the corner, allow them to finding an advantage elsewhere with Oregon as they have a Hanzo and a Bastion to utilize alongside one another. But still, nice reserve play. Clear, playing the corner, allowing them to maneuver over. As you can see in the back corner there, Bagel getting a little overzealous, finding themselves a potential boop off the edge. They, with that Hanzo play, continue to look for these long-range sightlines, not leaving themselves exposed. But Matt Merck takes a wild changeup and goes onto the Pharah. The dedicated hit scan and focus can really come from not only that Bastion, but also having it from the Hanzo. This retaliation comes in tenfold with a team kill from Boise State, and that adjustment to be aware of Clear on this high ground. Still getting some pepper damage in now onto the Hanzo, dropping down instantly, funneling. Being pumped into Clear so everyone else can play on the offensive and Clear alive. 2 minutes now. Time continues to dwindle. Cheeky position. Clear sticking behind the boxes. They know going in aggressively and playing ham and gets the great elimination on that forward momentum. The Kitsune rush, Boise State looking to put salt in the wound right now. A couple of seconds to get the not only topped up healing, but looks for the fortify. Unfortunately, that aggressive spear spin onto the support line didn't manage to get the elimination fast enough, so that gives Clear the opportunity to punish and chase down Ima Boost. And with Plato still playing this elevated position, Manzanam can't get to them fast enough, and this will cover and only have to rely on the spear spin and the javelin. Immortality field committed into this. They no longer have it. Pressure is down. A trade comes in. Plato's brought out of the sky, but attack visor from Matt Merck might just put the nail in the coffin here to guarantee that this is another swift take. Under 1 meter health pack. Both supports have been eliminated, and this is absolutely what you needed to see from Oregon. Managing to take down the supports is key. Matt Merck trying to pull this one back from the depths. Doesn't matter how many gates you're down below. Matt Merck's going to make some plays and actually is able to counteract this, where this bot is still being contested. Only 5, just shy of those meters that Oregon was able to get out the initial gate for that neutral fight. And they've got the Rampage and the Tac Visor. You can just see the reposition with the Carnage. What a Suzu, though, to come in from tempo to nullify that Rampage. That would have been devastating onto I'm a Boost and Fizz. But now, use the Roar defensively as you've got... Oh, can they find the health pack? Gets the pickup onto pressure and sends that Tracer back to spawn. A second gonna come. This is just a Queen type of fight right now. The Blade comes in, looking to pull him into the clutches of the Carnage, is blood crazed for the moment. Conditions might just be too great. Carnage up front, getting a nice slash onto it, where I'm a Boost attempts to turn this around with the Sigma Flux up top. Pulse bomb thrown in, but Clear, who we've seen holster this blade for the longest of times, gets a 2-piece. Both supports. I'm a Boost is down with Chosen's assistance. Everything falls.
Locked away.
like a summer sunset. Doing things that I shouldn't, but it helps me reset. I'm fucked up, but it's fine, yeah. Anything to forget that it's all in my head. In my head, my head, my head. In my head, my head, my head. Get out of my head. Get out of my, get out of my head. Get out of my, get out of my head. Get out of my, get out of my head. In my head, my head, my head. My head don't feel like it used to. I miss my homies, yeah. The thing we had discontinued, but I'm not lonely yet. I don't wanna talk about it anymore. Yeah, I'm drinking cause I'm bored. Down by behind locked doors, yo. In my head, my head, my head. In my head, my head, my head. Get out of my head. Get out of my, get out of my head. Get out of my, get out of my head. Get out of my, get out of my head. In my head, my head, my head. In my
Why, hello and welcome back, everybody, as we are going to continue on with the Overwatch action. You can see here live at the Boise Arena as we are going to be having these matches continue in only a matter of moments. We've just been able to see Boise State be able to take down OSU as they were unable to even take a map away from our wondrous Boise State. But you can take a look at the bracket to see who we're going to be facing off against. Many others have already completed their rounds as well, but we will look at this bracket as UCLA, whichever one wins is going to be who we face against. It's just whether or not it's going to be their main roster or their academy roster. And again, from what we've seen from UCLA before, I believe a majority of their rosters, from looking at their history and their data, has been quite shaken up since last we got to see them last year in collegiate competition. So being able to come in with a lot of these new students or new members able to participate into this is going to be an interesting feat. And again, I talked at quite a length in the previous game where we did have for that series Boise State with such great, stellar, well-rounded, cohesive play with a roster that has been a standing tall squad since the beginning. I mean, goodness me, I think the last time that it was a different roster was a couple of years ago. They've all been playing for such an extended period of time, and it's a glorious opportunity to see these students play with a team for such a duration that they have been able to be such a formidable candidate. But as I mentioned, for UCLA, they have a lot going into this to face off against them, and this is going to be the quarterfinals as we move through this bracket. So there's still the best first of three. There is a lot to be played for here as they are working through for this West Regional. And myself personally, I think that it's going to be a really close one. I would like to believe. I always want it to be close, to be fair, as they're going to be facing off against one another, with more specifically because we know what UCLA has done historically with their organization and their school, their university as a whole. We can take a look here at Boise State again. For those that might be tuning in a little bit later, this is the second match of the evening with the roster that we've got here for Boise State, able to come out onto the field and really starting to warm up. They've been able to put in a massive amount of work in that previous match and looking to do the same here. Might not be as a swift of one going against UCLA, who does have a very formidable program that has brought a lot of talent to the collegiate. And even when we look at them historically, top 16, 4 or top 36 in the big pictures here, where they've been able to still be at that upper echelon, in that larger pool towards the top, where when we've had hundreds of universities across the country fight for the cumulative title for such as the collegiate championship that we had just at the end of last year. Where now we get to see with this new year, new semester, new students, and a new roster from either the main squad or the academy to be facing off against the state. Potentially get onto this. It looks like we'll be heading into Tucson once again, waiting for that final confirmation, but it would be nice to see once again, especially if we get to see the first half. I know they got slightly a slight delay in the second half, but nonetheless, on the screen shortly as we're waiting for those final players from UCLA to enter into the lobby. All of Boise State ready to go. And one of the big factors that I do want to really highlight for at least the opponent, if they're going into Boise State, Matt Merck and Clear, which has been really kind of making a multitude of different play styles. We've seen tank, we've seen DPS, we've seen even some support in historic time. Being able to really flex onto what is necessary. And we even got to see with previous play this hidden undercover Symmetra play once that was quite devastating to go against. So there is such a wheelhouse for this player specifically. And with Clear being able to play on so many different facets, not only in the role, but also just the depth of hero pool, it gives so much more agency to the rest of Boise State that they can look to try and play these other varieties of compositions, because Clear is just a very well-rounded and skilled individual on so many different champions and heroes going into these Overwatch matches. And what the opposing side from UCLA is going to have to look out for is what role not only that's going to specifically be playing on, but also the methodology behind the composition. We saw a little bit more of that front-loaded aggression, specifically being led by Bagel, nonetheless, on this Lucio, just getting some really great catch them off guard kind of angles with either a boop or some damage or drawing their attention away. And that's what's, I think, also just really fascinating about the Boise State squad is their ability to cause dismay in their opponent, especially within this region and the other like schools that are a part of this. We have UNM, we have UC, we've got UCI. So again, these names are ones not to really just, sit idly and allow it to happen. So they have to figure out this methodology to counteract it. And I'm hoping that when we go into this one, as we continue to move further through the bracket, the quarterfinals specifically, making a more elevated competition for Boise State, as the first one went very, very well in their hands. This one might be a little bit more challenging and could slip through the fingers, but only time will tell as we do get that fifth and final player into the game before entering into this. And again, Lime, I've been able to see a little bit, if I'm not mistaken, when it came towards the tail end of last year. A little bit of an adjustment. As I said, it would have been nice to see Busan again. Either way, I also do like Antarctic Peninsula, so that's another good one. Personally, I think Icebreaker is a really, really great way to break the ice when you're entering onto your first one. No pun intended, but we'll let that happen as we do have this match beginning and entering into it. And hopefully, let's see, I got 33% chance of getting it right that we're going on to Icebreaker first. So let's see if I'm right. Am I right? Nah, we're just gonna go straight to Rocket League. No, I'm just kidding. Cars and ball. That's cool. As we're gonna be entering into this next one shortly. It's been a while since I've seen some Rocket League play, but Boise State also very formidable in that game title as well. As we're entering in, we got a nice pan here over the scenic view, though. Again, that's the Busan downtown. You know what? I would love to be on the ocean on, maybe not particularly it looks like a storage case boat. But, anything out in the ocean would be nice. I swim quite well. As long as there's no shark-infested waters, I think that would be helpful. And I myself just look to continue to try and survive if that were the case. But realistically, as we do get some lovely scenic view here, we can just overall look forward to this competition again for the CECC Western Regional. I myself also, to be fair, since we're hopping through it, never mind, we can keep my talk till later because the game is here and the time is now as we enter into it. And I'm right! The 33% chance that I had, I was totally right. Look at me. Haha. I'm going to pat myself on the back. You all can't see it, but that's happening. As we're going to be entering in now, we've got the Malga play coming out from Clear once again, but this time it's going to be UCLA bringing out the Ramatra, this very brawly type tactic. But when I say going into the brawl, Matt Merck on the May is soaking up the energy from the environment around him and is able to completely isolate everyone away, gets a pick up onto 2. Even though Matt Merck does sacrifice his life, it was well worth it because that May definitely gained value. And now Clear back to the base, well, in this case, back to the point, able to hold on. Instant fight out again. It's this over-aggression. This dominant forward applied pressure is so dominant. And UCLA now is going to have to play into this doorway where you have the Malga and also Plato on this Bastion. Just funneling damage in is so challenging. Now going into the form, nice wall, holding back, denies some of the damage, but since they were able to put the wall up for one angle, you have Boise State on the opposing, and they completely capitalize on this again. It's almost like a deja vu moment from what we got to see earlier with this two-prong attack. Finding that divide and conquer opportunity, allowing Boise State to just completely catch off UCLA. And now they're at a 35% position. They're in this forward momentum. They're going to utilize oh my goodness. Plato just instantly shuts down that immortality field with the assistance of Large Bagel. They are on top of it the second it hits the floor. And again, even though there's going to be a couple of picks that come out here from UCLA, I like the fact that they've got the Sojourn with that rail shot that's able to completely capitalize on this, but it's free percentage. There's still going to be time dwindling away from UCLA to get them closer and closer for Boise State to this 99%, which is ideal. And even now, there was enough harassment coming out from a Large Bagel and Matt Merck to not even get UCLA in a position that they can swap this over. Now the ultimates are online too, all 5 of them ready to go, primed and active. As you see this reposition, the amplification matrix is a great way to start into this, but when you've got a charging Malga at you to cause disruption, bypass the amplification matrix, and also have a Kitsune rush and every other ultimate thrown into the mix of this, Clear holds on to the cage until it's going to be the final monumental conclusion to this engagement to guarantee that they will take this flawlessly with a 100 to 0% round 1 on Icebreaker. That's nuts. Let's be real right now, as we are going to get to see some gameplay of what just happened. This is towards that later portion of where the recovery tactic comes in just after that usage of the cage, where they are able to eliminate the final two despite the attempt. And really everything pivots off of this first initial fight win. Boise State takes it cleanly and gets a massive ultimate economy advantage, then continuing to pepper damage through that, and they can basically carry those ultimates in to the second fight. Because realistically, I wouldn't even say that the second fight was a real one, because it was basically a couple of members of Boise State fell, UCLA was able to kind of move forward, but then Boise State fell back. It was just a nice, quick two-piece elimination, so Clear and Bagel get back into it for the second fight, which is a full 5 stack of ultimates. Everything about that doesn't favor UCLA. They had to contribute some of those ultimates into it just to bypass that initial front line. As we enter now in onto the second round, point going to be active in a matter of seconds as Clear dives in, attempting to separate. Arcane goes down, doesn't have enough power, and will be brought down to their knees, as this is going to be, again, Boise State able to capitalize on this, and we see, once again, this variety of depth from Matt Merck as well. I talked heavily about it when it came to Clear, but with Matt Merck as well, we've seen the Tracer, the Pharah, the Junkrat. There's just so many things that they can utilize, and the nice thing about the Junkrat too is that with a lot of these angles and really being able to just pump damage in onto this team, it's so quickly how not only you can get front-loaded damage, but you can also generate that ultimate so quickly, so you can utilize it already at almost this 50% bypassing everybody else. And if there's something that goes a little bit awry, it's going to be Plato that comes in as well, that's able to just continue to funnel damage into this choke point. Lime picked up in the back, nobody really able to help because Arcane and Light can't quite get enough healing onto them since the utility was already used to move forward. A nice rail shot comes in, but again, it's far too late when the rest of Boise State completely ensnares the remaining members of UCLA. So it is going to be now already starting to bypass that 50% marker where things get dire, and Clear cleaning up the last two. So this leans into, once again, another one of those instances that we just had on Icebreaker. They look for this small skirmish. Even if they lose it, they come back with a stack of 5 ultimates, and then they unleash hell onto UCLA. So it's really on the shoulders now of UCLA to get one ultimate potentially out of this. But no, you're going to have Carrier get taken down instantly by Clear. This mobility from Bagel is making this so much more challenging to work through, because Clear is a fast-moving tank at this point, just utilizing that extra movement speed to rotate with the team, and everyone is in the circumference. The Riptire now looking for a staggered pick. They've got the artillery shell to do a second guaranteed pickup here as they maneuver out of the spawn. This will not and never be a full 5 for the remaining 10% of this from UCLA. And Clear, once again, I said it once before and I'll say it again, this is not just regular salt in the wound, this is Himalayan rock salt, just completely penetrating through the wound. And this will be Boise State now cycling back to try and deny the counteraction of a flanker, as that Genji is sent packing with an overtime ending, and map 1 going again in favor and UCLA now is getting... Well, you know, I said that I was hoping for a little bit closer of a competition, but you know, every now and again, sometimes you just love seeing some good gameplay. Plato in the Lego Bastion, nonetheless, comes out with a lovely skin. And you can even see they've got that keychain with a world. They've got their whole world in their hand, or in this case, the whole world on a tank kind of spot thing. Oh my gosh, it even gets the grenade onto Arcane. Stellar job all around, as that's going to be the first map already in favor of Boise State. As we take a look again, I know that we are just looking to upgrade and update that bracket. As you can see, as we take a quick drawback, you can see also outside of not only this match moving forward, we have ASU pushing further along through the bracket. ASU I've been watching as well when it comes to this West region. I myself being originally from Arizona, so I keep in touch and kind of look to see what they are. Rest of the squads as well. You can see the Rebel moving forward from UNLV, UCI Esports, and UCI. Yes, spelled out accurately. Also moving forward. I love the fact that they do that with their wordplay. But again, as we move into this quarterfinals through the rest of the bracket, Boise State really putting on a show. And that's what we continue to see here, not only from the arena, but also across many other tournaments and platforms. And I'm really excited to see them continue. When you have this type of momentum and this type of just powerhouse, it really does like balloon the more that you continue to play. And when you settle in, you're just running it back. Like all of Boise State's just like, you know what, let me just lean back a little in my chair. I'm going to kick my feet up on the table and we're just going to have a good time. And that's really how they're feeling right now. They've not found themselves in a position, I think, to break away from this type of tactical and just almost loose play style, because it's almost it's going to be weird to say this. They're playing playfully. They're playing with this type of glee that just allows them to not only just have fun, but also still have quality communication and allow them to just set in their ways. And that's, I think, what's most exciting. And you can really see that here. They have a complete understanding. And we saw it back to back, mind you, in these maps. The first map specifically, as I said, goes for the neutral, takes the neutral. Follows up for the second engagement, really sacrifices a little bit. They buy back into it, they get the map, and then they've got a full stack of ultimates. Here is the same thing. They were able to get that instant take onto the Sojourn, forcing them back. They have the ultimates. They can carry it into the last 10, 20, 25-ish%. And then they get the map. Same thing. Rinse and repeat. So if there's no real way to deny this almost strategic pregame that they've had in their mind and in their playbook, and it hasn't really wavered away from it, they have no real need to feel concerned because it's all falling right in place. So as they're moving through and going into now away from this control map, they're going to be entering in onto Escort. We're going into Circuit Royal, where we will see if on the attack, UCLA is able to counteract Boise State.
Is effective.
And this, oh man. It's just taking me back because Sigma, this is the Sigma map. And when you have Clear on Sigma, that's scary. When you have Matt Merck on Widowmaker, that is scarier. When you have Plato on Sojourn alongside Backmark, that is the scariest. And then to top it all off with a cherry on top of the cake, you're going to have Chosen with the Discord Orb to guarantee that even if the shots don't land, you're still doing bonus damage. So UCLA's got a lot of work cut out for them, but they're going to opt to go for that double hit skin as well. The Widow and the Hans would have really trying to bring that into the mix here. The Discord Orb as well going to be extremely vital to be putting onto Clear so they can break down not only the shield, but reduce the health value. It's Bagel in this Baptiste that I'm really glad that we've got the POV on, because you can see the angular position that they have to take. They get that funnel healing not only on this corner and where this angle is, but being able to have a prime position for the Immortality field if things get a little dicey. And you're going to see both Matt Merck and, well, Matt Merck's down, so it's really only on the Plato right now because there is a great shot that comes through from UCLA. Clear's still holding positioning right now, but things get a little dicey. Bagel's got to throw the Immortality field, so Clear can potentially backpedal into it, but takes an alternative trajectory going up the stairway, and Bagel has to respond. Able to get away for the moment. Lovely positioning still continued by Bagel to top up Clear as they look to this new angle. Draw back towards the shop. Oh my goodness, what a great rail shot to come out by Plato, though, to stag this out a little bit. Wanting to make it a little stale so that you don't just see UCLA continue to peek this corner. Clear comes in with a great pickup, gets the double tap onto the Widow, and that's going to force back UCLA so they can get back into this original neutral position where they were already able to reduce it by over 60 seconds. Sigma ultimate on as well. That's going to be massive to utilize if they attempt to try and rush forward, but that's a little unfortunate as you're going to see Plato taken down, peek in the corner aggressively. Courier is now getting some free sightlines, and they have to be cautious of this. They cannot allow themselves to get picked up. As a second comes through, this is where UCLA is actually starting to step up. Clear has to get out. They've got the Discord Orb on them. There's going to be an influx of damage. The kinetic grasp beautifully timed, but they force out the Transcendent. UCLA gets enough damage onto Chosen, so they're going to battle back into this, and there's an instant reaction coming out from Arcane to sustain. Can the follow-up damage be enough from Boise State to punish them on that aggressive push? And it actually is! The accretion goes wide from Clear, but it doesn't matter. Matt Merck comes in with a dome onto Lime, squeezing him completely and watching all of that juice just be expended.
No one
I had to go to a
nice
juice squeezing reference. I don't know, because Lime, you kind of just have to. I feel like it's necessary. But there's a minute and 20 seconds now still to go. Matt Merck has all the intel that they need. Infrasight is active. Oh my goodness! Everything turns on its head, though. Every piece of information at Boise State's disposal. Doesn't matter. UCLA says we've got sights as well, and they will be able to get a Dragon Strike to come through, gaining 2 on top of the rest. And now, Clear, with a Golden Gauntlet, wanting the Infinity Stones, is going to go back in to compete against this with only a fraction of a meter left. 50 seconds to go. They want to keep the same stride that they had on the previous series. They want to deny them reaching this initial point, and Clear is doing everything imaginable to be able to hold here. Gets the counterplay with 73 HP in critical mass as the shots come through. But as the focus swaps to Clear, there's still play coming through by Plato. There's a trade out here. They reached the checkpoint, and they've bought back into it. Ultimately, you can see a couple of staggers as well. That'll allow them to move around this corner into this rampway, but Arcane coming out with some arcane power, one would say. Using a little WoW reference there. For those that are in the chat, World of Warcraft fans, I know you're out there. As we've got 2 minutes and 30. Clear gonna opt to stay on the Doomfist though. Not gonna rotate back. Was doing it more so originally for that high mobility to get to the payload to try and deny it from reaching the checkpoint, but at this point still gonna stick with it. Already 60+% gain when it comes to the Meteor Strike, so that could be potentially a reason. What a shot comes in from the back. This Widowmaker from UCLA has been absolutely vital with a Venom Mine coming in as well onto Matt Merck. Cannot quite escape the clutches of the toxins. And now, looking to push these last couple of meters that are remaining for this next checkpoint. You can see Clear hyper-focusing onto the Widowmaker, who has been absolutely dominating here. And this Discord focus, let's take a sidetrack for a moment. That was a Matt Merck deflecting the shot, and then cleaning up on 2 more afterwards with a team kill at 3.2.
Hello.
Wild turnaround that is. And now, we take a look at 4 ultimates. Happy Panda indeed. Clear. Happy Panda indeed. Oh my goodness, you going in hell or high water right now, diving in the back. Meteor Strike aggressive as all heck. The grapple attempts to get out. What a reposition on the triple punch. Can't quite get the value though, and actually UCLA, despite that being utter chaos, is actually able to weather a majority of that. Plato now down below, over top, near where that Transcendence has to be forced out. Couple of shots and gets it on the dash. It's nutty sometimes. What boy? Oh my God, Plato, stop it! Gets the 5-piece. Oh my God, I'm just happy right now. Plato, you molding it. You molding this whole fight right now. Because you've got 46 seconds left. UCLA had a wondrous opportunity, but on a retreating Sojourn, Plato comes out annihilating the hopes and dreams of this recontention. And now they have to press into this, and look at how exposed. You have to see UCLA. Matt Merck, though, at a sliver of health. If they can get that elimination, that's key. Do get the pickup. Cassidy able to eliminate, pressing on, Lime finding Chosen. That's devastating. Having to solely rely on Bagel right now is an absolute abandoned ship moment. Not to say that Bagel can't pull something out, but they need to have that funneled, focused healing from Chosen, along with that Bionade that can really turn the fight on its head. Overtime now active, meters still remaining, looking to dive into this. Punishing behind the shield. They dive rapidly onto the back line. Instantly gets the dash reset to try and focus this Tracer. Can't do it! There's a pincer maneuver. It's a trade for 1. The Ant Matrix comes in by Tropic. Will it be enough to amplify the damage to counter it? But the Bionade, as I mentioned, from Chosen onto the Sigma line, gonna have to round the inner side as the dart goes wide. Chosen posturing forward, and it's a trade fest. Blue and red in the kill feed as there's still seconds to go, and wondrously, Clear manages to bob and weave his way to a defensive hold in this round 1.
Score.
All right. So I said it, fam. Oh, wait, is this it? This is it. This is it. We're going to rewatch this. Comes in. Beautifully done. Has the overclock. You can see the aggression come out. And then everyone just lines it up. Everything falls into place. Plato right now acknowledging, this is my time. This is my moment. As the swap of side, that's just debilitating. I'm gonna take a moment away and say, that's me in a rank game throwing my hands up and saying, I am so done with this Sojourn. That's how I'd feel. That's why I'm the one talking about this is playing it. As we now take the swap of sides and see what will unfold. A very, very worthy recovery, though, from UCLA. I was actually quite surprised. I didn't think that they would be able to outmatch in that initial checkpoint and even be able to get as close as they did up the rampway with the way that Boise State has played more on a defensive position, especially historically on this map with Clear on the Sigma. But a couple of overzealous positional plays gives them vulnerability. And I think it was also Boise State finally recognizing that the Widowmaker from UCLA was actually really hitting pay dirt. A couple of those shots were crippling to allow them to re-enter. As we now have the night lights under the moonlight begin to brighten. The doors open. The streets of Circuit Royal will now be lit. The gunfire of many. As Clear's actually going to come out onto the Doomfist again. Matt Merck with this Junkrat. Curious if he's going to take that tactical over-the-wall play, looking for a double mine reposition. As you see him go overhead, but unfortunately gets taken down. Seen this play before by Matt Merck. It has paid dividends, but in this case, not so much. Nice follow-up, though. Great volley comes in by a large bagel. Shut down the Widow, who has really been a problem, a thorn in the side of Boise State. But Clear, really vigilant in how they're maneuvering around this corner. Happy Panda Hunters indeed. Nice angular maneuver, utilizing so much of this cover to the best of their ability. This is why we give Clear a lot of credit, but those shots still land. It might not be onto Clear, but Plato left out in the open, vulnerable, is the challenge. And look at this micro movement that's going consistently, piece by piece, to take very small, marginal steps forward, looking for the re-engagement, continuing to put this damage in. But even with Clear playing so wonderfully with those movements, it's just unfortunate that they can't really break the defense of UCLA. It's this ebb and flow between this whole roundabout, really, that UCLA is giving ground. But in the long run, they were able to play this so formidably. But Plato now getting the rail. Out to Courier, this is going to be really important. If you can get back in fast enough. There is the grapple, though, from the Widow to reposition, but I'm not sure if it's going to come through fast enough. Nice kinetic grasp to mitigate the fire, but the stun and the frontal aggression by Clear changes the outcome and knocks him into the shop. He's wearing nothing but the remaining clothes from the dummy in the back. As you now have a Meteor Strike beautifully positioned, and it's a masterclass for Clear on Liga Dome. As there is a 2-minute time bank remaining, reaching the checkpoint. We'll be able to amass a 4.5-minute time bank. Plato, we've already seen with an overclock once before, claim the entire team of UCLA, but this time around, a sphere will bring them down. Wow, I actually didn't mean for that to rhyme, but it did. So we're gonna let that happen. It's 4 minutes and 10 seconds. Clear. Regrouping with the rest of the team, knowing that Plato was out of the equation for the moment. And that's not what you want to see. Oh, goodness. Okay, Clear. Maneuvering up top. Looking for an angle. Gets a massive elimination. Might just find another here. No way! Clips him off the wall. And this is just absolute mayhem. Utter chaos from Clear. Just making space. And at this point, it feels like we're watching Clear playing an MMORPG. Like everybody's an NPC and you're just taking them down. That's how it felt for the brief moment. They're weaving through the story arc. A Nano on entry gets the extra boost of damage to melee the Hanzo and completely shut him out. Live now with a ultimate attempt to try and deny this momentum. 3 minutes and 15 seconds. Clear is still having a field day on this position, and now for once plays back for the moment, but is waiting for the rest of the squad. Meteor Strike into the back, wants to completely delete the Zenyatta, but Arcane has the Transcendence, and that will give them a new lease on life. But now that it's gone, the Riptire's coming in, but it gets eliminated. Great reaction time from Lime to shut that down with a quick double tap. Because the Discord Orb, along with the Transcendence being down, would have been devastating. Dragon Strike from back positioning to hopefully stop this momentum. And realistically, even though UCLA isn't really winning this fight at the current moment, they're able to hold them here with this spawn potential. If they can continue to buy time, it's going to deny the completion, but unfortunately now it starts lighting up far too blue in the kill feed. And Clear is continuing to take this space. 1 meter to go. UCLA has to force into it. It's their last desperate plea, hoping for some sort of reprieve, and they will not get it. That is a second map win here, putting themselves as a deja vu moment on another match point. We gonna get it? Let's see it. Come on, Plato. What? Matt stole it. No way. All right, I'm gonna say a little shenanigans, but let's see what it is. Gets the deflect onto one. I loved it as the nano comes out. I'm not knocking Matt Merck. I love Matt Merck to death, but where's my 5 elimination once more overclock from Plato? That's what I want. That's going to be the highlight of the century right now, because just coming out, if 2024 has been laid out in front of us. We already know what's going to happen. Plato getting a beautiful 5-piece at the tail end of it. Mind you, when the fight was not in their favor, completely turning it on its head. Boise State down, numbers, but Plato says, nah, friend. Hold that thought. I got a rail shot, and then I get an overclock reset where everything just goes my way. And plays the positioning beautifully. Gets the back angle onto an over-aggressive, out-of-position Zen, and then slides to get to the lower angle. We're going to get actually right here. I think this is it. Yep, this is actually it. Here's that initial play. Like I said, gets an instant shot over top. They recognize that the Zen's to the right-hand side after the Dragon comes in for that. Easy pickup here. Doesn't need to worry about it. Absolutely is a necessary time to activate. And everybody else who's chipped away, their health is low, abandoning ship. Sorry, you are not abandoning the ship. You are being thrown off at... You know, it is what it is. So Plato, I high five you. I'm gonna high five you right there. I'm hoping you're doing that. I hope you're doing that with me. But that puts Boise State on match point, as I said. And now we're gonna look to see what that next map has in store for us. UCLA was landing some very pivotal shots. Like, cannot discredit that. Their Widow play and the Hanzo play in tandem with one another were able to get a couple of really great fight-winning shots to get that extra distance. And they also had on the defensive position a lot more reasonable understanding of that disengage to give ground, to then find the advantage to gain ground, so that they can look to see where Clear is going to be. But once we're going to go around in circles with this. Clear also on this Doomfist, it mesmerizes me. I am a garbage Doomfist player. So to see Clear being able to play with such proficiency and really just having a full understanding of the way that this kit works, and with the support line that Boise State has in the back pocket, basically can do anything. Basically a raid boss. That's what it is. Raid boss Clear. But as we're going to be heading into this next one, the good thing is UCLA has a grasp and understand the direction that they have to go. They have been able to get these really key picks, denying some of the influential players on Boise State and really being able to change their trajectory defensively. And I think that they can look to carry that over into this next one to hopefully be able to take a map away from Boise State to show that they can bleed. As Batman and Superman have said to us before, do you bleed? Boise State has thus far not shown that. And no kryptonite has been brought within their close proximity. So that's going to be something to really look forward to as we are entering in now onto Flashpoint. We got to see a push map as our third, but now this time around, we're going to be heading to Flashpoint. So Ravasa is where we enter first, and onto this main central location with a couple of shots already coming in and a jagged blade whizzing by, giving a nice grazing haircut. Not quite landing for the moment to pull them out into the open. As I love this Junker Queen. Be Junker Queen, and that is already Lime out of the equation. Completely just eviscerated on the back with Matt Merck guaranteeing there is no more additional mobility coming out from Light. And this is what's so important about this initial map, is because the control point in the center is the first capture point, that if you take this neutral fight and you manage to control this effectively, just like you've got Boise State doing here, you have the advantage of two things. One, if the point is behind you, you get the positional advantage. Two, if you stagger and take this point and eliminate even just a few members of UCLA, you come in as a 5-stack to then push forward towards their close spawn. So getting this first initial point is so vital. Whereas now there's at least an elimination onto clear, opting to go now onto this Sojourn. Again, showing that depth of hero pool, as I mentioned earlier. UCLA needs to capitalize onto this. They managed to get rid of Matt Merck, which is wonderful that they've once again taken out a major damage factor. Clear and Matt Merck not here, so it's solely reliant onto this Junker Queen to put enough punishment out. But Boise State already gaining 71% due to this flashpoint percentage gain per objective, generating that much faster. It is a small margin quicker than a control point. So this typically is a 3-fight engagement, very similar to control, but it can happen a lot quicker than you think. Sometimes even in occasions you might not get that third engagement. So now 30% and climbing. Blade waiting, goes for the Carnage, pulls him in. The chip damage is significant, but Light gets enough coverage on to the Genji as the Rampage clips 2. Both supports. There's the Kitsune from Arcane in the back. Will they be able to counteract it? What a blade over the wall! Jiminy Christmas, is it ever gonna stop from this Junker Queen play? Cleaning it up now, and it will be instantly swapped back as they shut down. Okay, I was gonna say, if they landed that, I would have walked away from my own microphone. Now, 25%. This is the perfect place to be. Boise State now going to be able to gain this pretty much uncontested, especially with the Riptire looking to zone them back and not allow them to get here. If they can get a pickup in this rotation, that is beautiful. So now they'll have the numbers advantage as they capture this point, and they might even be already posturing towards this next active point. You can take a look at, has now been set. They've got them within their own spawn. And I actually think they can run. Yeah, they're going to be able to backpedal across the center over towards the new point. So instantly now, they not only take the fight, they take the round, and then they're now going to look to try and get into a more dominant position, though this rotation here could be a little dire. They've lost Bagel and Matt Merck. So you've lost not only your movement, but a significant portion of your damage. So we'll give them a few moments to try and recalibrate as they are entering onto Palace. But at this point, Clear's just going to be the first one to go there. They're drawing time away, guaranteeing the capture. And with the spawn being ever so slightly closer, it gives them that chance to take the early advantage. And even if they lose this, they'll still manage to gain anywhere from 20 to 30%, most likely. And look at what both of them have been able to do. Both the Queen and the Curie have just denied UCLA from getting here, and it's in now that reasonable percentage gain margin where if they even threw this to get back to a full 5, they'll come back tenfold. And you can see with this pick coming out by Matt Merck, already becomes even more challenging to face off against this, because there's just 2 more points that need to be obtained by Boise State to be able to close this out and have another first to 3 back-to-back series. Overclock active, goes for the shot, can't quite find the body, but just before they hide behind the wall, gets the eliminating shot, and the movement just moving and grooving the whole time as Clear wants to put on a show just as much as we saw with Plato. 75% in the home stretch, once again eliminating UCLA. They will have to wait for this next point, and it is their last and only opportunity to dig themselves out of this grave. 4 ultimates now available by UCLA. They have to use these so carefully because you really don't want to expend all of them, because you want to not only guarantee this first initial neutral fight, but then you also want to try and get the second one if you have Boise State come back in this, because they have the sound barrier. They're going to have this Rip Tower. And depending upon how much damage that could be pumped out from Mouse, they'll be able to get another Rampage to unleash. Oh, there's this. Needs to be extremely careful. Jagged Blade goes wide. And you can see Matt Merck waiting for the time to strike. Blood in the water, goes for the double tap, gets the pickup, but the overclock might have already been able to do enough damage, and Lime gets 2 more. This is exactly what you needed to see from UCLA. Beautifully done. They only commit 1 ultimate into this. They've taken the fight, they've actually captured it, and now can start utilizing these support ultimates specifically. Whether they want to lead with Light for the sound barrier to try and take the advantage aggressively, or they want to use the Kitsune Rush to get this first initial fight to guarantee that they have the longevity to take it into a more defensive nature with the sound barrier. But Matt Merck again looks for the pick and gets it. Quick action. The Riptire now, bobbing and weaving, waiting for a patient play to come in on top and crushes Lime from on high. Though, Is there a chance to recover? Nah, not so much. This is where it's 50+%. Boise State's going to swap it. But again, you have not only the Dragon Blade, but also the Kitsune Rush. Again, they only committed 2 into this. I'm absolutely okay with this. But the problem now is if Matt Merck, once again, finds another sneaky, really, really dodgy play right now, it's going to be catastrophic for UCLA because this is their last lifeline. And you can see Matt Merck, patient. Will they walk into it? Oh no, Chosen is down. That's the Kitsune Rush. And a second onto Mouse. Boise State now going to be in a dire stretch. What a play by Matt Merck. I know it's not going to go in their favor, but he takes him down with a Dragon Blade. Just puts insult to injury of why a lot of people are just like, no, man, I don't want to play Genji. Why? Because everybody focuses me down. I can't do nothing with my blade. Well, there's Exhibit A. As it's going to be 75%, we're going to take a quick look at it. We actually had the cam on it. Where is it? Is this it? Oh, this is going to be it, isn't it? Oh, no, this is a different one. This is a different one. This is still nutty. Matt's just like, nah, I'm going to play a game. I rolled a nat 20 myself and was able to just completely overwhelm. Gets a second piece, and the part two is it denies the Rampage. Like, the Rampage was used, and the Riptire just shuts it down. So they lost that, if I'm not mistaken. 99 into the overtime. Line gets a bagel. It's going to be Matt Merck and both bagel out of this. Clear. Sorry, friendo. I don't know if you'll be able to pull that one off with Lime chasing you down. A jagged blade is burrowed deep within the gut. And now there's only 30 seconds until this next flashpoint becomes active. And UCLA manages to survive another round. Will they be able to do so again? Oh no. Chosen able to find in the rotation again. This is always the most difficult part. If you get picked up on this change of positioning, it can be the end of you. With Rampage now back online, Mouse is there. It's the only real ultimate that they can contribute into this, but it is a worthwhile ultimate. And you can see already positional advantage coming out from Boise State. They are in a prime position to make this a 3-0 series a second time this evening. As it swaps over instantly. The overclock. Oh no! Right as I say the overclock needs to be active, it is stripped away by Clear with a wonderful rail shot. I know that they've been able to match up ever so slightly. Bagel no longer here on the field, but that's still not something that is as devastating as it could have been. They'll have that movement speed to get back into this, and with the amount of damage that Boise State is able to pump out into this, they could really rely solely on the Chosen. The commanding shout as well gives them coverage. Nice switch step into a repossession. The Suzu is down, so that guarantees that 2 will be clipped by it. Arcane and Courier are down. Lime with a Rampage. They've got to abandon ship. This is the last moment now. They have one last engage. Riptire is out. They have the Kitsune Rush. The ultimate economy can favor UCLA, but they have to get back as a full 5. That's going to be the biggest problem. 25% in climbing. And with how forward Boise State is, they know they can play this aggressive. The commanding shout charging forward. Mouse is almost dead, but everything in the kitchen sink is thrown. It is overflowing with pixels on the screen. UCLA cannot manage to get there in time. Boise State holds the line, and as Gandalf says, you shall not pass. What a dominant display again here in this quarterfinals. Chanting indeed, the queen in the arena, ding ding in the ring. As this will be another clean run through UCLA's squad, and they move on even further into the next. As that is, whew, I'm scared. I don't even play and I'm scared. As you can see on this, it will be moving into that round 3 for the best of 5s, but we've got both these matches today that were really impeccable. Like, all around, this is just showing the level of not only quality, but just, I really don't have words for it. Like, I'm going to actually think about that. Like, the way that Boise State, as we've continued to see them compete over not only just their longevity within the esports scene, has just always elevated themselves. And even when competing against a lot of other teams that, let's say, can match up against them, there's always something new that they bring to the table. And realistically, with the variety of things at their disposal now, with the patch updates, with the hero change, with the Malga adjustments, there are so many different opportunities where, realistically, we're not finding ourselves in just a singular type of meta. Like, that's the nice part of it, especially going into the new year with collegiate, where we can actually see them play a vast array of things. And I think that's one of the most key components for this just university as a whole. Boise State has really been able to just culminate a group of individuals with the leadership that they have into a formidable squad time and time again within their region, and also just across the country in and of itself. And with both of these matches going the way that they did, it is a fright to see how the rest of these teams are going to fend off against the remaining portion of this bracket. But with us being able to see both of these completed, that is it for us this evening. It was a pleasure to be able to have all of you a part of it and see some extremely stellar Overwatch. So we hope you have a wonderful rest of your night. It has been an absolute pleasure, and we will look to see you next time for the next Boise State Arena Overwatch games.
Once there was a traveler whose feet never left the ground. With only his mind as his map and his senses his compass, he raced into the great unknown, armed only with the speed of legend. His trails he blazed, his rivals he played. Every sprint a blur, every turn trusting his allies. In silence he raged and waged with quickening, sickening speed. His name a chant filling arenas. Because some heroes leave footprints, others an afterburn. Without conflict, there is no resolution. Without verses, there is no victory.
Visit NationalGuard.com to begin your Guard adventure.
It's the end of a good day's work in Idaho. Time to punch out. Time to check in and catch up. Time to remind ourselves that what we work for isn't a paycheck. It's to make the good things we have even better. So here's to your good day's work. Idaho Central Credit Union. We believe money is a thing. It's not everything.
Here are a couple lessons I've learned over the years. Friendships come in all shapes and sizes. And always buckle up. Seatbelts save lives. That's a rule we can all live by.